The next thing that's in production / this has started filming or will be starting filming in October is Agatha House of Harkness. I have to slow down on that because I always say House of Darkness. So Agatha House of Harkness will begin filming. I'm wondering what's going to happen with that show. The more I think about that show, I'm wondering where they're going to go with it. Because you mentioned, when we've talked about
prequel stuff,
is it going to be a prequel or is it going to be continuing?
I personally think it's going to be both. And what I mean by this is, I think you have to. It was Wandavision's show. It was Wanda's show, technically. Like, it was Wanda's story, essentially. But you have a little bit of Agatha, and she's like, "Oh yeah, a bunch of witches," and then they do the little like info thing with the witches. But like, there's got to be so much more with that. There's gonna be so much more with that.
Agreed.
You can go through all that, and then I think it's gonna end like the first half of the show is gonna be like explanation. This is witches. This is the witch lineage, whatever, going forward. And the second half is gonna be her either breaking out of where she's at now, Westview, and like kind of like starting her own power gain, and then eventually running into Contessa de la Fontaine because they need a.
My thing with it, so I think they've already gone through her past with those witches. So you said there's going to be a lot that they could do with it, but they kind of went through it in Wandavision, so they don't really need to go through that.
I mean, they went through a little bit. I think there's still more that you gotta understand.
There's more. I think you want to see more of her childhood as opposed to her like adult year. The part that I'd be most interested in that would be the time from that up to WandaVision. That's the timeline I'd like to see if it was a prequel.
Why she went to Westview.
Right, like all of that. Like from that moment she was on, like getting burned at the stake and then killed all the other women. From that point up to WandaVision is the timeline I'd like to see for a prequel. However, if it's not a prequel, this is coming. It's filming in October.
Right.
So it's going to be at least 6 months of filming. You don't know when it's going to be released. It might not be till 2023 or 2024. Probably late 2023 at best.
Late 2023, yeah. That's about a year.
This is when a lot of stuff's already happening. Like Multiverse of Madness and that sort of thing's already happening. I think they could do something like Scarlet Witch. Mephisto, yes. Scarlet Witch can't keep her hold mentally on Agatha because she's using the Darkhold. She goes into the dark dimension, so she can't. And so it's her getting freed because of Scarlet Witch not being able to control her anymore.
Right.
So I think it could definitely be a current timeline of Agatha and running an almost either a villain-centric show, which I've been begging for, or an anti-hero Agatha.
I think she's gonna. Yeah, I think you're gonna do the villain type thing, and I think she's gonna get recruited
by Contessa
to like someone's got to combat Scarlet Witch. Like, you know what I mean?
In the comic book, she becomes a mentor to Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, she's a mentor. Right. But she's also working for Mephisto to enslave her children. You know what I mean? So so there's both.
They could go so many ways with. So the more I think about it, I think that show is. I want to see if they do prequel. I think it's just going to be anti-hero level. Like, oh, you're going to start feeling for Agatha. However, the timeline I'm interested in, I already said. And then if they do a current timeline, I think it's going to have a connection with Wanda that does lead into Dark Dimension, Mephisto, that sort of thing.
Right. It could lead. I mean, it could just lead to her eventually getting her kids, like that whole run.
Absolutely.
Because I don't think Multiverse of Madness is going to I don't think she's gonna get her kids in that. I don't know. There's so much in that's gonna be happening in that movie. Is that gonna be the storyline we want Wanda to do?
Well, that's the thing, is
get her kids. I don't know.
I don't want to hold her to something she said in the past. Elizabeth Olsen said that WandaVision's or Multiverse of Madness Wanda is the exact opposite of WandaVision Wanda.
You got everything in WandaVision though.
A story focused on just the kids on that and all that would
that doesn't make sense. And
so I don't know. I if I had to take a guess, if I were to come up with like my own theory, I think it's Agatha current timeline freed by WandaVision or Scarlet not being able to hold on to her. And Agatha, basically her story from her plan, how she manipulates. And then if it does involve Wanda's kids, it would be her goal would be to eventually capture Wanda's kids, and maybe inadvertently she thinks she's holding Wanda captive, but inadvertently helping Wanda because she gets the kids, thinking that she's stopping Wanda, but maybe Wanda fails to get her kids in Multiverse of Madness. And so now when she thinks she's holding Wanda's kids hostage, she's really created a way for Wanda to get her kids.
So in Spider-Man No Way Home, Aunt May dies. Aunt May dies in the comics, and Spider-Man makes a deal with Mephisto where everyone forgets who Peter Parker is, so that May lives. That's a comic run. So they didn't do that, right? So they have that run they could use for, say, Wanda or something like that. And they also obviously have the Mephisto souls are Billy and Tommy, stuff with Agatha and stuff like that. So they have a lot of avenues where they can bring in I think you're right. I still think they're gonna get a little bit like in the past. You're gonna get a little bit in the past, just some kind of filler.
Otherwise, you're not building a love for the character.
Right.
You have to be able
traumatic
to root
past.
for Agatha.
That's part of
have to be able to root for Agatha.
Right. So traumatic past. That's just the description of a hero. Traumatic past, turning point, heroic fight scene, and then we love them. So
villain is traumatic past, turning point, hatred for the world.
Exactly. So, no, yeah, I think it's you're gonna get brief backstory. I think you're right. Agatha's got to break out, or maybe like Sword knows she's there too. So if there's a corrupt head in Sword, which there is
at least one.
Yeah, so they could go get her, and then we're just gonna take you out of Westview, and then you're gonna be okay, and then you're gonna magic.
Right.
So
magic us. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Well, then we'll have to see what happens, but we probably nailed that one on the head too. So
we have countless times, so wouldn't be surprised if we do it again.